I was going to make them live now.
The worst mascara. It runs. So I always have like spots by the end of the day.
Okay. I will call the March 18th, 2025 Lanesville Community School. Paul, is that going over the cafeteria? Try it? Or are we just going to? Okay. We're trying to get microphones that will go over the cafeteria system as well. Okay. We're calling the meeting to order. Our second agenda item is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The third item is the approval of minutes from the February 18th, 2025 board meeting. Could I have a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from last month's board meeting.
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, board members, you have received the agenda in advance of tonight's meeting. You have had time to review, research, and consider the matters to be voted on tonight. Board members, do you have any questions or concerns that need to be addressed?
Not at this time.
No, thank you.
Okay. The next item is the approval of claims for the month of March. Could I get a motion to? Could I have a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make a motion. We accept the claims for the month of March.
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, the next item on the list is the principal's report.
Either one here.
Okay, Eric's. I knew. Okay, neither one are here tonight. Okay,
I've got some of their stuff in mind.
okay. So the next is the superintendent report, and he will talk about the principal's report as well.
We are currently on spring break, and so people are here, there, and everywhere. A couple things on the elementary side. iRead results are in. They are currently embargoed from the state, so they're not allowed to be released yet. But as soon as the state gives us the okay to release those, we surely will. Out to parents. As we sit today, Lanesville, just like in the last several years, are up in the 90th percentile. So that's looking good. But we will release those as soon as they are no longer embargoed from the state. For the high school kids, the juniors that took the SAT, those are to be released the very 1st of April. The first week is what we're being told by the state, and that will go out to parents and the kids at that point in time. A couple things to discuss. It is legislative session season. I've been up there a few times. I was up there again this last Wednesday with Small and Rural School Association. One of the things that we've spoken about here on several occasions got brought up by some senators a few weeks ago in a hearing, school consolidation. And so they brought that up when somebody was talking about property taxes and finances. And a couple senators thought that would be a really, really good idea. So I was up there with Indiana Small and Rural School Association on this past Wednesday. I also sat and talked with the IASBO, which is the School Business Association, and spoke with Superintendent's Association and a few legislators and people from the DOE about some of the concerns that we've got at Lanesville, and some of the things that we are looking out for and how things would impact corporations down here and corporations our size. A couple bills that we kind of really need to watch out for and look out for. One of them is House Bill 1064. The IHSA has already addressed this. They saw the writing on the wall that it was going to go through and going to happen, and allow a one-time transfer for all students that aren't seniors. Here at Lanesville, we always, our process since I've been here for the last 5 years is if a kid wants to transfer, we always let him go. You only have an X amount of time to be a kid and to do those things, and so we've always done that. The IHSA always tells us that over 90% of transfers are given. That is now going to probably come into play, and the proposal from the IHSA is for the first 3 years of high school, people will be allowed one transfer and be able to be academic or athletically eligible immediately, regardless of if it's athletic reasons or not. So just kind of keep your head on that. There are a couple Education Matters bills that talk a lot about different education matters. One, House Bill 1201 is trying to clean up something that everybody across the state is dealing with right now, and that is attendance. That is a provision in there. And so it talks about clarifying more what is an excused and an unexcused absence in accordance with the law, and also moving, it says, requires a public school to hold an attendance conference no later than 10 instructional days instead of 5. So there are a few attendance things in there they're trying to clean up. So we're watching that one, knowing that that will affect us. But schools across the state of Indiana are having the same issues that we are. A law got thrown at you. You had to throw something in place really quickly, and it didn't match what we had, and left a lot of interpretation. So we're trying to shore that up. Another thing that we need to watch out for here is House Bill 1681, which addresses local public questions on referendum. It is trying to limit them only to November general elections, which is a big part of the reason why we're trying to come about one now. If by chance, whenever we get to there, if it fails and you have to wait 2 more years, it may be 2028 before we can address it again. But know that that's going through. There is Senate Bill 249, which deals with teacher compensation. It says it amends provisions that allow school corporation to provide supplemental payment to teachers in excess of the salary specified in the school corporation's comprehension plan. So that's one we need to watch out for. Another one, School Board Matters. This one will affect school boards. It is trying to put provisions in. They've tried it in the past to make school board members declare if you are a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. And if you fail to do so, then you would be labeled as an independent. One change from the original, and our local Senator Gary Byrne is who sponsored this. When we were up with small and rural school breakfast, a lot of us were lobbying for this, and this provision has been changed, which I think is very, very good. It will not allow for straight ticket voting on school boards. Even though you say that you're Republican, Democrat, it will not apparently pick up straight ticket. And so even though if you label it, you have to actually vote for it still. And I think that was a big hurdle for that. But these are things that are trying to be pushed through, trying to go through the process. As the session ends in about a month, we know that there are a lot of things that will be changing and go into conference committee and come out looking completely different than it did even when it walked in. But then the big one that we're all watching is the budget, and it's a budget year, and the big topic is property taxes and capping property taxes, and it's gone back and forth, and the governor had his, and the Senate had theirs, and the House has theirs, and they're trying to figure out where to land on that. And what that does, property taxes not only affects schools, it affects all local government, your county police, your county government, town police, fire departments, libraries. Everybody is funded through public taxes, property taxes. And so we'll see where those caps and those percentages shake out at. But those are some things that we need to be watching as we move forward. That is my superintendent's report.
Dr. Apple, what's the Senate bill number that deals with the elections that would require board members to declare? I missed it.
Senate Bill 287, School Board Matters.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have anything on principals?
I threw some of their testing and stuff in.
Okay. Next up is number 7, the PTSO report.
Thank you.
You get music?
It's like I'm playing Little League. So for our March PTSO report, we had Donut with a Grown Up. Was a super fun day. Sharon even won a birdhouse. So thank you for attending. Our upcoming activities, we have a PTSO meeting April 2nd at 6 o'clock in the library. Nominations are still open for president and vice president. We really would love to see somebody step up and take those roles. The spring carnival and silent auction is Friday, April 4th. Doors will open at 6. We will have food trucks, Kona Ice, and the Teddy Bear Mobile this year. As far as the Teddy Bear Mobile, order forms should have come home, and those are to be returned April 1st. Is that correct? April 1st for your pre-order. The community support has been fantastic for our silent auction. We're still accepting items for the classroom baskets. Reach out to the PTSO on Facebook if you need to drop an item off over spring break or send it to school when we return. Zaxby's night for April will be Wednesday, April 9th. And we have been seeing very good community turnout for these. So we appreciate all of that. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is public comments. This is the public comments related to agenda items only. Public participation policy will be in place. The first on the list is Liz Beamer. Are you wanting to do the agenda item or? Okay,
No, Ms. Beamer, not your agenda, the agenda.
this is,
9 and 10.
Okay.
No, I'm getting old. I can't. I go to like 10 meetings in Harrison County, and I'm getting old. I can't sit through the whole meetings. The old lady's getting old. Anyway, agenda 9. Okay, your 2-year contract. I want you to consider some things. I go to all the 3 school board meetings, plus election board, library board. Monday nights, I used to go to county council, county commissioner. I don't do that. I watch it on the TV like a slug on the thing. And then election board. So I just want you to consider some things. The superintendent in North Harrison. Okay, North Harrison is known for their crappy buildings. They spend $2 million in tax dollars a year for maintenance. They attract lawsuits. Okay, so what I do with my day, I watch a lot of state, federal, and type thing. Most people watch Gunsmoke. I watch and school boards. And I'm going to go to the other school boards and tomorrow night to county commissioners and tell them the new lawsuits that are coming down. And I keep trying to come here to tell you about the new lawsuits coming down. Okay. So I don't hate anybody, but I'm concerned about my tax rate because that's why I'm opposed to this building and lawsuits and things like that. That's my only concern. Y'all bleed purple. And that's wonderful. God bless you. You know what? We're retired and I'm concerned about my tax rates. And as a taxpayer, I get tired. Why do you think you can go to school board meetings? You don't have any kids here. Well, then I want my money back. Okay? That's all I'm saying. So the operations fund, this is something that just annoys the snot out of me. Okay. You're taking money out of, just a minute. I always have to rewrite my speech when I come here. Out of the classroom, okay, out of the education fund, into the other one. Okay, it needs, it bothers me. There has to be, get a bake sale, go have a fundraiser, do something. But you know what? I'm always hearing teachers don't get paid enough. You know, this needs to be done. I hear teachers say, not these teachers, Okay. The other ones, because nobody here talks to me, like I go to coffee with all these other folks and the other school boards and everything. But anyway, they always talk about how they have to spend their own money to get classroom supplies. Okay. You get this casino money. Okay. I don't know why you can't get a few bucks for the classrooms or a few bucks for bonus for teachers, or I don't know how your whole system works. But the thing is, I'm concerned about my tax rate, taxes, things like that, because North Harrison, they get the casino money and it keeps going up. So I'm not going to stay for the other one. So hopefully someday you will listen to me about the lawsuits that are coming down. I would appreciate that. If
You've
you
had
all
3
just want to
minutes.
sit down with me sometime, I would be more than happy to. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Doug Burbank.
There's some policies in the 5,000, 6,000 series I'd like to address. 5710, student complaints, last paragraph, the board corporation employees shall hear the complaints of the students of the corporation, provided that such complaints and grievances are made pursuant to the procedures established by superintendent and Indiana law. See policy 9130. We haven't got to 9130, so I don't know how you can pass that without knowing what 9130 is. Okay. 5830, student fundraising, bottom page 2 states, all other fundraising by corporations support organizations shall be done in accordance with policy 9211 and policy 9700. Again, we're not there yet, so I don't know how you can pass that 5 series when we haven't got to the 9s. That would be my question, I guess. 5840, criminal organizations and criminal organization activity, bottom of page 2, states the superintendent is authorized to issue guidelines to define the range of ways in which corporation staff and principal or designees shall respond once an incident or criminal organization activity is confirmed according to the parameters described in Corporation Code of Student Conduct. I looked at the student handbook, and that's not in there right now, so I'm hoping that the board will make sure that's in there. I assume that will happen. 6320, purchasing, bottom page 1, states it's the policy of the school board that blank shall act as the purchasing agent for the board. There's no one designated in that blank. It's not clearly identifiable. Page 2, first paragraph, the purchasing agent shall make open market purchases of supplies totaling no more than blank for a single item or a group of items. Dollar amount is blanked or it's lined out. Page 2, second paragraph, the purchasing agent shall seek at least 3 price quotations on purchases of supplies that are more than blank, but less than blank, except in case of emergency, and so on and so forth. Those 2 blanks are lined out as well. Page 2, second paragraph, the purchasing agent shall seek at least 3 price
What's the number?
quotations.
Doug, policy number?
Oh, 6320. It's all 63. This is all 6320. Yeah, that's all 6320.
Okay.
Also in 6320, when it comes to public works project, it's on page 6, letter F. The board shall require the bidder to submit financial statement, a statement of experience, a proposed plan or plans for performing the public works project, and equipment that the bidder has available for performance of the public works project. The statement shall be submitted on the forms described by the State Board of Accounts. My question is there's nothing in there. My time up?
Mhm.
I'll be real quick. My question is, there's no mention requiring the bidder to have a performance bond. I think any time that we're using public works money, that the bidder, if it's accepted, should be required to have a performance bond. The last thing we want to have is somebody start a project, they go bankrupt, and we're stuck.
And just where it says the purchasing agent and then it's blacked out.
Yes.
The purchasing agent is who it is. And so you're not specifying the exact person.
Right.
So you're not bringing yourself in.
So there is no purchasing agent for the school corporation?
It depends on what is going on. So the board is usually, but if it's a smaller item, then the board's not in on it. So you don't put a specific person on that because different projects have, and then if you go out and you've got a construction project, you go through.
So who's accountable for that then? Who does it fall back on if there's not a purchasing agent that's going to be responsible? I know. That's what I'm saying. Would there be
And so
many?
that's why you don't, depending on the department, depending on what it is, the treasurer always signs off on all those things. So does the superintendent, no matter what it is. But that's why you don't put a specific person in there. It's the purchasing agent.
Okay. All up to you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, next is Keith Beard.
All right, I think I'm going to go a little bit backwards through these because some of these are been pushed already or talked about. The 3,000 codes. The first one I have to ask about is the supplemental pay for teachers, code 3220.02. This allows the superintendent to issue supplemental payment in excess of salaries specified in the school corporation's composition plan to any teacher at the discretion of the superintendent. So my question is, does this allow, where's this money coming from? And is there a limit on this money that he can give to teachers on top of their salary for any reason? Can the superintendent give the special ed teacher at the high school a supplemental payment of whatever he feels like he needs to? Or is there any more to this? Where do these funds come from, and is there a limit on them? The second one is the staff-student relationships relations, code 3213, inappropriate boundary invitations. It lists an example of inappropriate touching as hugging, and hugging can be taken disciplinary action for up into including termination may result from that. I suggest that it would be turned into inappropriate touching maybe instead of the word hugging. I know my girls in school will go out of their way to go down a certain hallway because they know their teacher will be in that hallway out at the right time. But this isn't a gray area. This specifically says hugging is something that a teacher can be taken disciplinary action for. So I would recommend that it would be changed, at least the word hugging, to inappropriate touching maybe, or whatever you all come up with. But it's pretty clear that hugging is something that a teacher could be in trouble for. The tutoring, the outside activities of staff, code 3231. Section E says no students enrolled in one or more of their classes should be able to tutor. So what I ask is, if my girl needs tutoring in band, what other teacher do I need to teach her to play her instrument if I can't get the band teacher to do it? If my student needs help in science, what better teacher than the science teacher that's teaching her that to tutor her? Thank you.
Next up is Katie Blinker.
My name is Katie Bleeker. I live at 2180 Corden Ridge Road, Corden, Indiana. The agenda items I wish to speak on today are item 9 and then briefly on item 15. At the January Lanesville School Board meeting, there was an item that did not make it on the agenda. However, it was voted and passed to instate a 14% increase in the superintendent's salary. Due to complaints made by this community, this important agenda item is on today's meeting. I believe it's called an open door policy that requires such items to be published on the agenda for awareness and public comment. Numerous supporters of the Lanesville Community School have expressed deep concerns about the proposed 2025 pay increase for Superintendent Dr. Ryan Apple. Our reservations stem from the current teacher salary situation in our school district. Indiana's Department of Education reports that the average teacher salary in our state is notably below the national average. It's troubling that our school district too falls short of this benchmark. Guided by a deep commitment to our educators and students, we feel compelled to question the rationale of the substantially raising the superintendent's pay under these circumstances. We respectfully call on the Lanesville Community School Board to revisit the approach to awarding pay increases at the superintendent level. We believe that there needs to be an evaluation of the superintendent position annually before raises are decided, and the decision to award a raise needs to be made public on the agenda. We strongly advocate for prioritizing teachers' compensation to ensure it continues to meet or exceed the 45% state funding standard, thereby aligning with our broader educational goals. The reason for this petition, I have 75 signatures, is to ensure that the community had a chance to be heard on this proposed raise for the superintendent, which is, after all, why the agenda is published in the first place. The petition I just read was signed by 75 community members, and regardless of the board's decision to instate this proposed raise and 2-year extension for the superintendent, the goal of this petition has already been realized. Teachers are feeling supported, which is something that is severely lacking in our beloved school. If it wasn't evident at the last school board meeting, I believe we need to reevaluate the reasons that we are rushing through due process after decades of exposure to liabilities. It is important to do our due diligence with the proposed policies and to form a committee to review and ask questions before making rush decisions. Thank you.
Eli Stumbler is up next.
My name is Eli Stumler, live at 8991 Highway 62. This is for agenda item number 9, and this is actually a statement I'm reading on behalf of Terry Wills. Board members, I specifically ask that you reconsider agenda item number 9, the increase in salary and the 2-year extension of Dr. Apple's contract. I suggest that no contract extension be considered until the testing improvements he has proposed have come to fruition and the strain with teachers and staff have been resolved. Dr. Apple's current contract through 2026 can be revisited next school year if he has proven to students, taxpayers, families, teachers, and staff, and the board that his objectives have been met and that he is striving to work with and not against his teachers and staff. Under the current administration, we have not seen the promised improvements. A decline in staff morale and school spirit have also been apparent. So a raise to cover more than the cost of living increases seems to be an unjustified reward. Our current school needs major repairs. There is financial planning for a new campus, and our teachers and staff deserve better compensation. So after a salary increase of $8,000 in 2024, the potential $15,000 increase in 2025 is not a sensible use of our funds. Upon investigation, I learned that other districts are cutting back on raise increases to their administration. Yet this board is attempting to approve an unwarranted, exorbitant raise for our superintendent. Dr. Apple manages K through 12 grades, all on one campus with a lesser number of students and staff than most other area school corporations. I emailed numeric examples to the board members for comparison. I think you all might have seen those. Because Dr. Apple has compared Lanesville Community School Corporation to them in multiple conversations, I'd like to share an example of West Washington School Corporation. It's a similar setup, but with 200 more students. On account of a starting higher salary, they received a $12,000 raise in 2023 and a $6,000 raise in 2024, with the West Washington superintendent currently recorded as making a current annual salary of $120,000. And he is an award-winning superintendent who has also been in that position since 2015. Our tax dollars provide funds for raises. I'm one of those tax-paying citizens of the Lanesville community, and my own child, has attended Lanesville Elementary School since kindergarten. I prefer that our teachers and staff salaries be improved foremost. I am averse to awarding this amount of increase, given my previously stated reasons, as well as the effect of our current economic climate is having on our schools and community. I urge you to reconsider the raise amount to be the same as a previous raise of $8,000 or at about 8.5% with no contract extension at this time. Please consider this appeal before you vote. Thank you for your time and attention. Sincerely, Terry Wills.
Next is Michael Wolf. Okay, I thought you were over there.
My name's Mike Wolf, live at 6500 Ponderosa Road. First agenda item, I guess my first question is, so if this is public comment, if I ask a question, do I get an answer or is it just comments?
Just comments.
Okay, so the biggest concern right today is on agenda item number 15 of the 3,000 and 4,000s, when it's up for approval. The last meeting we said we was going to table that, and I'm assuming there was no changes made if it's going to be approved tonight. Because if there was changes, wouldn't there have to be a first reading, a second reading
We'll
of the?
address that in a few minutes.
We're going to address
Yep.
Okay, so there has or hasn't been changes.
You're going to find out here in just a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Because with changes, I would assume you'd have to have more than one reading to do an approval. Second thing, of trying to understand why in January we did a superintendent raise and now we're doing this again. Another concern was back to January when they did that, that was the transparency part of wasn't on a public agenda, and then it gets slid in after the meeting, before the meeting, and then you slide it in and do it before it's even on a public agenda. As a community member, that to me just looks not very transparent and really hiding behind things that if there's nothing to hide, then it could have waited till the next month. Again, I don't know the reasoning, but as a community member, that does not look good. I believe that's it. If you're going to talk about 3,000, 4,000, that's all I have. Thank you.
Can't read the last
It's
name.
somebody in green ink pen. Is it April? Okay.
Oh, is that your signature after? Yeah, that's you.
Yeah.
Okay. Couldn't read your name. You did red pen, I would have figured it out.
This is pursuant to item number 15. On behalf of the Lanesville Education Association, which may I say, we showed up during spring break. I'm very proud of that. I want to start by thanking the board for the modifications, which we haven't said publicly yet, but will be forthcoming in good faith on several of the policies we brought up last month. We take this as a show of good faith and sincerity to work in partnership with your teachers. We do still have two main areas of concern. One is the policy, the FMLA 3430.01. There, currently, it's marked the board shall require the staff member to substitute, i.e. run concurrently, any of his or her earned or accrued paid leave for unpaid FMLE. So we have to do that at the same time. I'm going to tell you why I have such a big issue with this. Last year, my best friend lost her husband to an incredibly rare brain tumor. It was a fight that lasted 2 years. She used up every single sick day she had. She used sick bank while he was in care too. There were no days left. He passed away. She used her FMLA. She is also a teacher at Warwick County. She used her unpaid FMLA time to keep insurance for her 2 exceptional needs children while she tried to figure out how to live without her husband. I know several of you are my friends. We followed this story. You were with me through a lot of it. If you do not check this box, that cannot happen. And I know it's a 1 in a million shot, but that's why policies exist. It's for 1 in a million situations, so we have something to go back on. And I just think that you could check the other box that says the staff member may request to substitute it if they want.
I was told that that box wasn't being checked, and I really do hope you guys make that adjustment. It's really not a big deal, but if the unexpected happens, we do need that to support our teachers. Secondly, while we are so thankful to the board for letting us know of the amended language, it did come the day before this meeting, came yesterday. We hope in the future that not just for teachers, but for parents and community members as well, that communication will be more open and discussions as transparent as possible to build trust and lasting partnerships so we can all work together for what matters most, which is our children. Thank you very much.
Okay, that concludes the public comments on agenda items. Okay, the next item is number 9, the approval of superintendent's 2-year contract extension and salary increase to $120,000. Could I get a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make the motion. We raise the salary and extend his contract for 2 years.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes, if you don't mind, before we vote, I do have some questions. I'm new in lots of ways. This guy's new, but he's been here, so I'm new. So I looked at salaries. I looked at data from 20 surrounding school corporations just to see how we compare, because this has gotten a lot of attention. And Lanesville's current superintendent contract provides for a salary of $105,000. That's $9,000 less than the next lowest full-time position, if I understand that correctly. Did you guys see that same data?
Yes.
Did I understand that correctly? We're the lowest by $9,000.
Yes.
Is that right? Right. I've also looked at salaries within the Lanesville School Corporation itself, and if you divide the salaries by the number of required contract hours to determine what an hourly pay rate would be, our current superintendent contract provides for an hourly pay rate that's less than one principal and 8 of the highest paid teachers, if I've understood the data correctly. Have I understood that correctly? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's also a tool. I like to find tools that give us a guideline. And I came across the formula by a guy named Bob Taylor. And he says that you take the highest base teacher salary and you divide that by 184 days to get a daily rate. And so that produces for Lanesville a daily rate of $418. So you take $418 and you multiply that by the contract days of 260 required for the superintendent contract. And then you add 10% for the extra duties, like driving around at 4 o'clock in the morning to find out if the buses can run. And that yields an actual number of $119,548. And that to me seems to be in line with what's been proposed here tonight. This contract that's up for a vote tonight, it doesn't include a car allowance. Did I read the contract correctly? Okay. So despite the fact that a number of superintendent contracts throughout the state of Indiana provide a car allowance, we're not doing that. Is that correct? Okay. I think that's all the thoughts that I had that I wanted confirmed before we take a vote. Oh, wait, I do have one other note here. When Dr. Apple's salary was increased to the current pay rate of $105,000, is that when he transitioned from a principal to a superintendent? When did that pay raise occur?
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
Okay, so he went from a principal to a superintendent and got that pay raise. So this pay raise that we're voting on tonight is the first pay raise in his position as a superintendent. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. All right, that's all the questions I had for the board.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, the next item is approval of transfer from education fund to operation fund in the amount of $185,000. Could I have a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make a motion to transfer from the education fund to the operations fund amount of $185,000.
In-
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The next item is approval to name the soccer field and track the Schickel Family Sports Complex. Could I get a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
I would like to make a comment here on this agenda item. In my 5 years at Lanesville, and for years and years and years before that, there probably isn't a family that has given more to this school and this community than the Schickel family, and never asking for anything in return. There was a long conversation that I had with Mr. Robert Schickel about this. Never looking for notoriety, but the Schickel family support both vocally and financially through the years through this corporation has been tremendous. And I think that it is, and especially on that soccer field down there, the hillside next to it, they still take care of the road. They still take care of the concrete. They still take care of help with the fields, help with all of it. Without the Schickel family, there wouldn't be a soccer field down there, along with Mr. Chip White and a lot of others. I know people have wired the scoreboard and done all kinds of other things. But without the Schickel family, we wouldn't have a lot of what we have here, and I can't guarantee that we would still be here in operation. And so I've only been here for 5 years, and I know that. But the Schickel family has given tirelessly to this school corporation, this community, and I think that this is well deserved. And when people go down there, whether it's for a soccer match or for track or whatever it is, I'd like for them to ask who the Schickel family was, and somebody around to tell them this is who it is and this is what they've done for our school and our community.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, number 12.
And hold it, Mr. Schickel, would you like to say anything?
Didn't expect it, right? We did first. It's definitely not one family.
Thank you, Mr. Schickel.
Thank you. Okay, number 12, we are pulling, and I'm going to let Tim speak on that.
Okay. I know Chip. Good or bad, I know Chip, all right? Chip is a guy that does a lot of stuff around here. There is a proposal to rename Meadowlark Crestview Avenue and the new concession area bathrooms Chip White Way. I wanted to make sure that Chip White was okay with it. Well, Chip White's not okay with that, okay? Because that's who Chip White is. Chip's going to do what he continues to do. He doesn't want that done. Okay? I get it. That's why I asked him. I wanted to make sure that he understood that, and wanted to make sure that he understood that, and he declined. So we will take this off the agenda. Chip, continue to do what you do, like you always do. And we never know, sometimes he's even around. Okay? You keep doing what you're doing, and we appreciate that. From the board, Lanesville Community School Corporation thanks you for all you do for us.
Okay, next is number 13, to approve the outstanding check cancellations and redeposits for checks dated over 2 years old. Can I have a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Number 14, can have a motion and a second to approve the disposal of 25 broken chairs.
And I'll make a motion. We get rid of 25 broken chairs.
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Number 15, the approval of the following proposed LCSC policies, which are the 3,000s and the 4,000s. Could I have a motion and a second to approve?
Before we make a motion on that, I would ask that the motion be to approve the 3,000s and the 4,000s, except for 3112, 4112, 3214, 3220.2, and 3310. I would ask that those be pulled for further discussion. So I guess my motion is, I make a motion to pull those 5 sections, 3112, 4112, 3214, 3220.2, and 3310.
Say them again.
Say it again.
That's okay. What? Slow. Go. 31.
My motion is to pull 3112 and 4112 and 3214 and 3220.2 and 3310 for further discussion. That's the motion.
Can I get a second to approve all of 3,000 and 4,000s except?
No, my motion is to pull those.
Oh, everything except
I'll
those.
second that.
No, my motion is to pull those.
Okay, pull. Okay, so we're going to pull those.
Mhm.
Do I have a second for that?
I'll second.
I second it. We did. We did. 4112. She said that.
He's asking why not the 4,000s of each policy.
Mm-hmm. What if it?
Because it's
If what?
first assistance.
311.
Are they exactly the same?
They're not.
I don't think that's in there.
Yeah,
I don't.
it's we did what we're supposed to do. So did somebody second my motion? Or?
Yeah,
did.
just go ahead. Second. Was that
I was
second? Okay.
Seconded it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same signs. Now, can I get a motion to approve all of them except the ones that were pulled? Can I get a first and a second?
I'll make the motion to approve the 3,000s and the 4,000s with the exception of the ones that we just pulled.
Which is 3112, 4112, 3214, 3220.2, and 3310.
Correct.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Next is number 16, the second reading of the proposed new policies for LCSC, the 5,000s and 6,000s. The next item is the approval of the above listed policy, proposed new policies for LCSC, 5,000s and 6,000s. Can I have a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve the 5,000s and the 6,000s.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The next is number 18, the approval of an AP Literature field trip to IUS to see the Glass Menagerie play and the class of 2025 senior field trip to Kings Island on May 19th. Could I have a motion and a second to approve?
make a motion, we approve the field trip and the senior trip to Kings Island.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, we are at, our motion passes. We are at number 19, additional public comments. This is for anything else that's not agenda related. It could be on anything.
I'm supposed to be there.
You can stand right there. It don't matter. Stand right there.
Bring up, I'm sorry for the outburst, but back to your 3,000 and 4,000, you tabled 3212 and 4212, but only 3214, but not 4214, which is the exact same thing. And most of the professional staff wants to support staff. Why would you not vote?
It should carry over.
It should carry on.
Yeah, it should carry over. You're right.
But you've already approved 4214.
Yeah, we approved 4214.
That's
You
right.
didn't hold it out. That's why I was asking.
We did not hold it out.
Correct. But you held it out for professional, but not for
Yes.
support. So
Right.
if you've already approved it, now you can't change it.
They can't be amended, but it just takes a little bit.
There were some things that were concerns, and not that we have to take questions, but I will take your question because I understand I think it's a valid question. There were some things that were concerned, there were concerns that were included under the 3,000s that apply to staff, and a lot of the staff members have contracts, and so it's different. I mean, the like the 4214. Okay, never mind.
The other question was,
Same thing.
typical that you do a second reading and approval on the same night?
We have to do second reading, I think.
We
That's what
didn't
we've
approve it.
done.
No, you gotta wait for this.
I don't know, learn.
You said yes, it's typically, but you said no, because you did a second reading.
Yeah, that's how we did 1000s and 2000s.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
and that's what we've always done.
Procedure.
I misunderstood what you're saying.
Yeah.
Bear with me.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other additional comments?
So regarding the staff gifts, your comment was that they're covered under a contract. So I, as the head of PTSO, am currently planning my teacher appreciation, staff teacher appreciation week. Some of those things include gifts. So if you pull out one for the teachers, but not for the support staff, we're able to give gifts for some teachers, but not support staff.
We do actually.
That's the way it is. That's what.
Go ahead.
I just want to know that I'm understanding it correctly. Because I don't want
You
I don't
can
want to give gifts
Whatever
and
you
then
give-
them get in trouble.
whatever you give to the staff, you give to the support staff.
Yeah.
It's understood.
It's understood. You're good.
What do you mean?
But the language is the same in both of those policies.
Uh,
So we approved one but pulled the other out.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Is that for, because it says it is the policy of the board that no support staff member should expect or accept gifts for carrying out the terms of his or her assignment. Are the gifts for being great people,
For being great teachers and staff.
or are they for,
Literally.
or are they for
Carrying out.
carrying out your work? Is it, hey, you did your job, here's the staff? Or is it you're wonderful and you go above and beyond? That's the distinction. Because then what everybody,
What my question is, what is the distinction between 3214 versus 4214?
it's the same language.
I understand. Yes, that's what
And
I'm
so
saying. It's the
really,
same language. So
I
we
know.
can't approve one but not the other.
You can, because there is no issue unless the gift is given for the completion of your job. If it is because my child really likes you, you're a wonderful individual, because it clearly says carrying out the terms of his or her assignment. So if it's simply because of the job that you do, congratulations, you did your job. Or is it because you're a wonderful individual? That's what they both say. And so they're going to look at it again. But that's what they both say is it's discouraged. That's discouraged. But it says for the terms of his or her assignment. So your PTSO gift, is it because they are wonderful individuals and you are so happy that they are there? Or is it, congratulations, you did your job?
It's not act like can we just pull it for the assistants.
What if it's for Christmas?
That has nothing to do with your assignment. That's for Christmas. I realize that. Yeah, no, I realize that. And they both say the same thing. They both say for the completion of your assignment. It has nothing to do with Christmas or Valentine's Day. It's the completion of the assignment. And so if your gift isn't for that, then you're good. I've read through all these a bunch of times. Yeah.
Okay, we can look at that and we can address because we're going to have first readings on the 4 or 5 that we discussed. So if we want to amend that, we can do that next time. But we'll have first readings on 3112 and all of those next time. But we can change it.
Yeah,
we can change it.
Next.
And that's
Ryan, move on.
okay. And the next item is adjournment. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
So since you guys have
wait a minute.
officially, I've talked to several of you, talked to Dr. Apple many, many times. Consider myself good friends with most of you, but you've now gotten rid of my paid tutoring option. So I want clarity on, but no one has actually said what the policy is going to be. So we've approved something that now's gone away. So what is our policy? Can someone clarify that for me? I've asked for that multiple times.
This is the board policy. The administration will come out with
It doesn't say that, Ryan.
we pass the policy and then the board or the principals and the administration will establish all the guidelines.
Yeah. Administration enforces.
Yeah.
So they have to follow the policy. So what is the policy?
They will make the policy. We made this policy. They
Ms.
will
Wal-
make the.
Hold on, Ryan. Just let me interject here real quick.
Okay.
A policy that we have had since 2005. Okay, 602.
I read it today. Ryan and I
Yeah.
talked about it. I know
And
what
so-
it says, Dr. Apple.
And so E says the facilities will not be available for any private reception or party or for the use of any for-profit cause. So that's been on the books since 2005.
It also says they can rent it. So can they rent it? Or are you going to make them have insurance? Like what?
Yep.
Just give me some kind of clarity. That's all I'm asking.
He's going to tell you.
That
It
has
says
been
they can rent it.
that has
I read the policy.
that has been on the books since 2005.
Correct.
To date, we haven't stopped anybody from tutoring anything.
Okay. So then what's the plan moving forward? I would love to know.
The purpose of these policies are for liability reasons.
I understand. That's-
And so nobody wants to stop tutoring. There are plenty, and somehow this became a tutoring issue. And it's not a tutoring issue. It becomes a liability issue because we have kids running around the building. We have
I know,
kids
you
in
called
with
mine out.
we have kids in with others. We have kids behind closed doors. We don't know who's here and who's not. So there's a liability reason. They are not acting as employees of the school at that point in time. They're acting as independent contractors.
Okay.
So then
that's
it's
the plan.
also
That's what I'm asking.
Miss Walk, hold on a minute. So then it's also unlawful if they use school resources for their personal gain. Auditors will get you every single time. So you can't do that. This has been on the books since 2005. We have to have policy to protect ourselves. And so once this goes through, whatever it looks like, if it goes through, then if anybody wants to tutor as an independent contractor, we will work with them to make it work. If anybody wants to come under the umbrella of the school corporation, we will work with them and make that work. We are not turning away anybody's tutoring, but we will work with whoever to make it work to fit within the policy. Nobody has ever said that we're trying to stop tutoring. What happened was people saw the proposed policy, they paid no attention to what was there before, and instead of coming and asking myself or the board members,
That's not true. I did.
I'm not talking about you, Ms. White,
Okay.
but instead of coming and asking us directly, went out in the public and caused the disruption without asking first, hey, what's this going to look like?
I asked
Nobody.
3 of the 5 school board members, and I asked you. And my tutor emailed you with no response.
Nobody is trying to turn anybody away from tutoring. Policy gets passed. The school
So is it going to be
corporation
in
is
writing?
covered. We will have administrative guidelines once policy is passed.
If something's
You
in
can't
writing,
do
I'm
it
great
before.
with it.
Do you understand do you understand the legal process?
I do, actually.
Okay, so then you understand that the legislature passes laws that then gives to if you'll stop interrupting me, this is why nobody wants to sit up here and talk, is because you get interrupted and you get huffed at and eye
belittling
rolls.
me.
I'm not belittling you. I'm trying to explain something. Some people don't know this. Laws get passed by legislatures that enable administrative bodies to then formulate the regulations that allow those laws to have any impact, to be enforceable. So we have to act to pass policy. The administrators can't come up with what it's going to look like until the policy is passed. So the policy gets passed, and then the board says to the administration, this is now our policy. We need to come up, we need to implement this policy.
Then maybe you should explain that better.
I just did.
You just did, but no one has done that.
I've tried to.
All
I have
we've
tried
done
to
is that
mul-
no one in here understands.
No, that's not even close to what I said. I said we have to pass the policy before we can ask the administrators to do anything. Why would we ask administrators before a vote is taken to do a bunch of work that may or may not be necessary? We have to take the vote to pass the policy, and now we go to the administrators and we say, this is now policy. We're going to need your help to implement this policy. And the administrators have the information that then we don't know what classes, what subjects are being tutored, because there's a lot of tutoring that's taking place outside the school. And I'm not making a comment on that being right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what we have learned. We didn't even know that was going on until this became an issue. So the administrators are going to have to gather that information so that they know what subjects are being tutored, how many kids are in tutoring. Do we cut it off at a 65% grade or a 60% grade? That's what has to happen. And there has to be order to it, or otherwise there's chaos.
Because if you've got a policy idea like what it's going to look like, I would help the administration edit how it's being executed.
Well, the board makes the policies.
But the administration has to have an execution.
Right.
So if there wasn't one like shovel ready, I mean, that's the question here. It sounds like
We're just asking for clarity, is all. That's all.
Can I give you an example that might help? And I don't know if I'm speaking as a turn here, but an example. If you have an independent contractor that tutors, 2 things. We cover. If I'm wrong, you guys correct.
Okay.
You get an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation. You make yourself an LLC, and then you have proof of insurance that you can insure yourself and your children. As far as I know, that'll cover you. Now, once you have that, your building principal in your building, will come up with a policy based on whatever we pass or whatever we talk, which we just did. They'll come up with a plan where you sit down, you say, this is what this is going to look like in our building each day when we tutor.
That's what we want to hear.
Okay. That's what I'm telling you.
That's what I want to hear.
Okay.
That's what I want to hear.
Okay. There you go. That's
Everybody witness it.
That's
what I want to hear.
saying.
I'm done. Thank you, Mr. Bridges.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next item is adjournment. Do I have a motion?
I make.
I just got one real quick. I promise it's gonna be nice. It's not gonna be mean. My comment is just big overarching picture here. During the comment section, there could be some amount of involvement from the board to respond to questions. It would make us feel so much better about the transparency of what's going on. It would make me feel so much better that you guys have educated yourselves on this stuff. I know you have, or I hope to God you have. These are big decisions. I want to feel that. We aren't feeling that right now.
That made me feel
the
that.
biggest issue that's happening. The discussion between the school board and the public. in my opinion. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay, the next item is adjournment. Can I get a?
We're trying to adjourn, Doug. I was kidding. Go ahead.
I know I just got up and said this a few minutes ago with 5710 and 5830, but could you explain to me why you passed those two policies when they're predicated on 9130, 9211, 9700, and we haven't gotten there yet? How can you pass that? It says it right in the policy.
If this came up with the tutoring or the liability issue. If there's no policy, then there's no policy. It's
So will you revisit that? Because
once we pass 9,000,
We can revisit any of it.
yeah, we can revisit any of it. But the
We just have to have the
9,000,
foundation down, and now we can go back and look and see what we can tweak. What we have to
we're
look
not
at.
even 9,000.
I know that. We got more to go. I get it. I understand that. But you got to lay it down before you get there.
Don't make any sense.
I know it doesn't. I understand that.
Doesn't make any sense.
I'm with you. I get it.
okay. The next item is adjournment. Can I get a motion?
I
And
make a
second
motion to
approve?
adjourn.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, we're going to take a little break, and then we've got the project and additional appropriation hearing.
out of anesthesia very well, and he was already mad at me because I had So do you have a?
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order for the project hearing and additional appropriation hearing. The next item on the agenda is for the board to hold a project hearing on the proposed construction project and additional appropriation hearing on the proposed GO bond proceeds. If you are interested in speaking at the hearing, please make sure you have signed the sign-in sheet, which shall include your name and address. After a presentation by the administration and its advisors, there will be an opportunity for the public to make comments about this project. At this specific hearing, we will ask each person limit their comments to 3 minutes and that the topic be limited to the proposed project. The notices for these hearings were published as legally required. At this time, I will ask Dr. Apple to explain the purpose of this hearing.
At this time, I'm going to go through and explain a few things, but just so you all know, there's somebody, Mr. Jeffrey Hammond, in the room that we're going to ask to give some commentary in a little bit because he's 10 times smarter on this than I am, and he can be able to explain it a whole lot better than I can. But pursuant to Indiana Code 2026-737, before a school corporation may spend more than $1 million to build, repair, or alter a school facility that will be financed by a lease or bonds, it must hold a public hearing at which explanations of the potential value of the project to the school corporation and community are given. Additionally, pursuant to Indiana Code, before a school corporation can appropriate any dollars it directly receives in GO or general obligation bonds proceeds, it must conduct a hearing on those proceeds for funds.
We will now, it's my turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
We will now hear from Dr. Apple about the process of determining and communicating the project to the community and the need for the project and how the project meets those needs.
What we are looking at doing here at Lanesville Community School Corporation is a solar project on the roof. What it will allow us to do, we are a 100% electric facility. Solar on the roof, and if you've ever been to Borden or Henryville or a lot of other schools, you can barely see them on the roof, so it's not some big gaudy thing from the 80s. But what it will allow us to do is reduce the amount of electricity that we are using through Duke, and we go through Duke. Duke, we know, is proposed a 16% rate hike again. In January and February, our electric bills were over $21,000 each month. Solar is something that will allow us to keep, like you heard, Lady Miss Beamer, the first thing she said today was about transferring money from education to operations. We had to transfer some money tonight. We do less than the 15%. We try to keep as much as possible in education. But what this project will allow us to do is keep even more money in our education fund. That's the money that we utilize to pay coaches, to pay teachers, to pay building level administrators, different programmings. We also have to take our textbooks now. We no longer in the state of Indiana pass textbook costs on. And so those kind of curriculum fees, those all now come out of education. So we're looking at trying to figure out how to keep more money in the education fund, less money in the operations fund. And since we're 100% electric, we don't have natural gas here, we don't have anything else, this is our best way to do that. And solar is the only thing over time that will pay for itself, a 100% return on investment. And it depends on the rates. What we've been given is somewhere in about the 10-year range for it to completely pay for itself. These solar panels, they'll be up there. They've got a 30-year lifespan. We know that no matter what happens, this facility is going to be used one way or the other. So for the next 30 years, we'll be able to generate our own electricity, and not 100% of our own electricity, depending on the functionality of it and that kind of stuff. You're looking at potentially even up to 60%. But if you do that, you're looking at a teacher salary plus benefits, hopefully, on year one. We're also, while doing that, the other component of it is there's an opportunity maybe for some additional revenue when you sell the units to companies. Some corporations, East Washington is one, they sell their electric units to, I believe it's T-Mobile. So not only do you get to generate, but anything that you use over your consumption, then you can sell. And so that would bring more money into the corporation. But ultimately, we're trying to do a couple of things. We know that our operations fund is going to take a hit. We know because property taxes are going to go down. And so that is what pays our operations fund. That's what pays for school buses. That's what pays our electric bills. That's what pays all of those things. We know that if we can eliminate some money that we have to spend out of there, we can transfer less, hopefully, keep more money in the education fund. And so that is the purpose of this project.
We will now hear from Banker Tilly Municipal Advisors, LLC, our municipal advisor, about how the proposed project will be financed, as well as information about the effect on the typical property taxpayer.
Mr. Hammond. A proud Lanesville alum, by the way.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I was going to say this is my favorite school corporation to work with. I've got a kid who goes to school here, many more to come through, and I live here, so it's always good to be here with you this evening. So as Dr. Apple mentioned, I'm going to talk through some of the proposed financial impacts associated with this project. One thing that I want to point out is all of these at this point in the resolutions the board will consider, they are maximum parameters. So we have intentionally built some cushion into these tax rate assumptions, into the interest rates that we're using for the bonds that would fund a project like this, because at this point, you're establishing maximum or not to exceed numbers. So I would say 9 times out of 10, once the bonds are actually sold, tax rate impacts, total interest cost, and the things that you'll see here are lower than what we look at here. But again, because it's at this point in the process where it's early and you're establishing those maximum parameters, I always want to mention that before I go into the specifics of these financial parameters. So where I want to start before we get into some of the specifics that will be in the resolution is just a chart with the school corporation's existing bonds outstanding. Can you all see this?
Well, I was wondering if the lights need to go off. Can you see that over there? Turn those lights off over and see if that shows up any better. How's that? Is that better?
Oh, that might be too much. There we go.
That okay? Is that better? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jeffrey. Go ahead.
No, thank you. I want to start with just a chart showing the existing bond payments that the school corporation has. Currently, there are 2 bonds outstanding, some bonds that were issued in 2017, and those will repay or be fully matured after calendar year 2027. And then there were bonds issued in 2018 that will mature in 2032. So you'll see the payment structure in 2025, total payments on both bonds combined were about $400,000 per year. There's a slight increase in 2026 and 2027 in the total payment structure as is. And then there's a step down again back to about $400,000 in payments through 2032. And at that point, all of the school's existing bonds would be fully matured and no longer have payments required. I'm going to go very briefly over this next slide because it's just the data that populates the chart we looked at, but it shows each of the bonds and what the annual payment is associated with each of those. So I want to spend just a little bit of time on this slide since these bonds will be done as general obligation or GO bonds. There's really two types of bonds that are available to schools in Indiana. There's the GO bond method and there's a first mortgage bond method, which are what the 2017 and 2018 bonds that the school already has were issued as. So a school would issue all bonds as general obligation bonds if they could, but there is a formula that limits the amount that you can do as a GO bond. And this applies to really all municipalities in the state of Indiana. And how you get to this number or your GO debt capacity is by taking the net assessed value of the school that's assessed each year, and really think about that as all of the taxable property that's within the school corporation's boundaries. You would then divide by 3 and take 2% of that to get at the debt issue limit, which for Lanesville this year is just under $2,150,000. The last step is to subtract out any outstanding general obligation bonds, the principal amount of those, and in this case, there are none. So your amount that you could issue as a GO bond is right under $2,150,000. So I mentioned that because the project being considered, and this is really small, fits within that capacity, and the school is able to issue these using the GO bond method, which means the school is the direct issuer. There doesn't need to be a building corporation involved, and it's a little more straightforward of a process to issue bonds. So at this point, again, I mentioned these are maximum parameters that the board will see in the resolutions. So we have built flexibility to determine the repayment term on the bonds at a later date. We would do that closer to the time the bonds are sold. The parameters in the resolutions would allow for any of these 3 options or even options in between here. But I did want to show, in addition to the maximum parameters, I wanted to show what 3 potential options to repay the bonds could look like. So for purposes of the resolution, there will be the maximum borrowing amount, which would be $1,870,000. And there will also be the estimated maximum debt service fund tax impact associated with this project, which would be 13.10 cents. So again, that's what will be in the resolutions, and then I can kind of show what some of these options may look like as a repayment term is decided. And I also wanted to note the current 2025 debt service tax rate is 5.16 cents. So
And this, Mr. Hammond, just
yes,
so we're all aware, that is one of the lowest in the state, correct?
I looked at it just today for 2025. It is the 5th lowest in the state.
Okay. Out of 293?
290.
290.
Mm-hmm. So this here, 3 scenarios I'll go through very quickly. But what we're looking at here in the gray represents the existing bond payments we saw on the first slide. The purple color represents proposed payments that could fund the project being considered. So this scenario has a 5-year repayment term. Similar to a mortgage or a loan in your personal life, the trade-offs between taking longer to repay a bond is that you accrue more in interest because that dollar amount is borrowed for a longer period of time, but your annual payments are smaller, which can mean a less tax impact associated with the bonds. So this 5-year scenario would have the highest annual payment. That's where the 13.10 cents came from in the resolutions. But it does have the least amount of interest expense associated with it. We're projecting that at 5% interest rates, that would be a little over $340,000 in total interest over the lifetime of the borrowing. The next scenario here examines repaying the bonds over a 10-year period of time. So again, 10 years of the 3 scenarios, it's kind of right in the middle. You have the in the middle tax rate impact and interest expense. And in this case, the estimated interest expense would be just over or just under $612,000 over the lifetime of the borrowing. And I will note that an option like this with the 10-year repayment or the 15-year repayment we'll look at next, it builds in more flexibility for future projects because you have, you can see the mouse here, you have step downs here in your payments, which allow you to have additional opportunities while keeping your tax rate level. So that's an advantage of a longer repayment term as well. And then the final scenario looks at a 15-year repayment term. This one has the most total interest expense, just under $900,000 over the lifetime of the borrowing, but it also has the lowest tax rate impact and the most flexibility for additional borrowings as well. So my final slide, and I'll try to make this just a little bigger. Final slide looks at, of that tax rate impact associated with the project that's in the resolution, this is meant to give an idea of what that looks like for individual taxpayers. So we've looked at a variety of home values. It's what you're seeing in this market value of property column. The market value of property is your gross assessed value. So if you look at your property tax bill, that is what the county gives you as your assessment on your property. And in Indiana, that's supposed to be fairly close to what the market value would be if you were to sell it. It is reassessed every 4 years. So it may or may not be close to what you could actually sell it at, but it's supposed to be relatively close. And we've looked at some properties ranging from $75,000 up to $450,000. And we've also included the median home value of $239,600. We've also shown an acre of agricultural land for reference and a $100,000 commercial or rental property. Those properties, a commercial or rental property does not have deductions available to you as you have as a residential taxpayer. And back up to the residential properties, that's the difference between the market value of property and the net assessed value of the property, is that you're able to take 2 deductions to lower your tax liability. So that's what we're looking at in the middle column. And if we focus on the median home value of the 124 or 239,600 for the market value, that translates to a net assessed value when you apply those deductions of 124,540. And if you look at the max tax rate impact associated with this project of 13.1 cents, it comes out to be an increase to the total tax liability of $163.15. Again, I know those are maximums at this point, and that's based on the 5-year repayment. So if the bonds are repaid over a longer period of time, that tax impact that a taxpayer will feel will be less than this. For an acre of agricultural land, $3.13 per acre, and for a commercial or rental property assessed at $100,000 would be $131. All right, I think that is the end of my slides. Are there any questions that the board has that I can help with?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
We will now open the public hearing. Remember, if you would like to speak, please sign in on the sheet, which is located on the front table, which I have it here now. As I mentioned earlier, we ask that you state your name and your address, limit your comments to the proposed project and financing, keep any comments to 3 minutes, and avoid being repetitive if possible. Okay, the first on the list was David Leffler.
David Leffler, 4228 Highway 62, Corden. I'm one of 7 members of what's called the Lanesville School Corporation or Facility Board, the people that put their signatures on all the legal documents for the bonds. I'm going to phrase this as a question. I don't need an answer tonight. But the school board, that board normally met every January and was postponed this year, but I would encourage that communication be initiated very quickly with the members of the board, who I think only one of them have attended any of these meetings recently, and that I would encourage you to consider multiple meetings to prevent some of the ill will from the last time we went through a bond issue. So it's not just bring us together, tell us what to do, and we need your signature before you go out the door. And
Give us the names of those people sometime. You don't.
I sent it.
You got it.
Okay.
You got it. Okay. Yeah. I know some of them, but I don't know all of them.
Okay.
Okay. I get
Okay.
you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the second part is I'm confused about the referendum and the tax rate. If I understand, the referendum does not apply to this $2 million bond.
This is a whole separate issue. And so like the general obligation bonds wouldn't come through.
Okay. So this will basically fill in behind the bonds that have matured and the rate basically stays the same. It's
the potential tax impact would be
about the same. So the referend you refer to is for the new project.
That is a building project potentially. Yeah, that is not this. This is for the solar.
That's all I needed.
Thank you, David.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Get to that later. Next is Mike Wolf.
Mike Wolf, 6500 Ponderosa Road. Question on the project, the $1.87 million, is that going to be all used for the project?
Yes, it all goes towards the solar project.
It 100% goes towards the solar project.
Well, the overhead costs that you've got. So anything that, like the process, any of that stuff. But yes, it is all for this project.
Okay. But you're saying that with the solar panels that will be on this school building, that you will be seeing within 10 years, a 100% return on our money.
They're giving us a 10 to 12 year window is what they've told us. The PSG, the company.
Okay. And so is that saying that you're going to get a return of after the 10 years is when, are you saying, I'm kind of confused on what the return is. Does the return mean we're going to get back the full 1.8 million because that's our investment?
Yeah.
Or is it that the full return is we won't have a $21,000 electric bill?
No, we won't have a $21,000 electric bill from day one. The savings, they're estimating 10 to 12 years. The savings will pay for the project.
So we'll have enough monthly electrical bill savings that will pay the $1.8 million.
And then any what they kind of call buybacks, anything that you sell beyond that, that's what they anticipate. The savings there, and then anything that you can sell, the combination there anticipates between 10 and 12 years. The more that rates go up, the more that will drop towards the 10. If they stay pretty flat, you're looking more towards the 12. That's what they tell us. The PSG company, they've come and they've done presentations to the board.
All right. Is that contract that you all signed, is that a public contract?
Yeah, all contracts that are public contracts.
So I could ask for that contract and have a copy of that contract for the solar project?
It's a public record because it's a school contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Could you email that to me?
Yeah, we'll scan it and email it.
Thank you. Because it's just hard for me to understand that on $20,000 a year electric bill,
that was monthly.
A month. I mean,
But it's that and it's the buybacks too. What they're anticipating for, like what you sell in the months that you generate the most, we use less electricity. So we will generate in the months of April, May, June, July, August, September, the most energy. We also use the least amount of power then. So what we don't use during those months will kick out. Borden is an example. Now they went a little more aggressive on theirs. And so they dropped almost 97, I think, percent of their usage from one year to the next. They completely eliminated. So they're almost paying no electric costs. We didn't go that aggressive because we didn't want to go up any higher really than what we are retiring debt wise. We wanted to stay neutral.
Solar field any bigger than what ours is going to be on top of this?
Yeah,
building?
they've got it all over the school. And it's been there for a few years. And I know you've been to ball games, you can't even see it.
Correct.
But they've covered almost the entire building.
Is that what this is going to encompass?
It'll be selected. Right now, they're working on exactly what's going to maximize it for us. We're looking at probably the gyms and maybe one or two other areas, but facing south, it really works well. You
Correct.
can generate more there. And so they are being strategic. We've met a couple of times. We don't have the final plan exactly where it's going to go. We know those two areas and probably one or two more, but it won't be an entire coverage.
Okay. So if I could have a copy of the contract, I'd appreciate that. I've asked for it and hadn't got it yet, so that's why I didn't know what the holdup was. But so after, I know I'm out of time, so I probably can't talk no more. So I guess
Just ask me afterwards.
Okay. I'm just really trying to figure out if in 10 years we're going to get all of our money back. You don't really know yet how quickly you're going to pay back the bond, but 13 cent hike on that's going to be a 30% increase on a property tax that you're already paying, correct? Am I right?
No, we've got debt coming off.
It's going to replace what's coming off.
Yeah,
You're going to
so
stay
it's gonna be
neutral.
Neutral.
So 13 cents is coming off and 13 cents is going back on?
Approximate. I mean, it's not exact.
Is that
What
right?
exactly is
It's
coming off?
13 is the highest it can go. Is that correct? 13.1 is the highest it can go.
Correct. So
we don't know until it's determined 5, 10, 15 years.
I understand that, but so because property taxes went down 2 cents this year from 53 to 51. So when will they expect this increase to go back on? And when are the 17s coming? You said they weren't coming off till 27?
27.
Yeah, so we would, if the bonds were issued this year, we would hit next year tax rate.
Paying in 27.
We would hit the pay 26.
So you'd have 1 year of overlap.
Right. So because for 25 taxes, you pay them in 26. So if it don't hit till 26, you won't pay until 27?
Well, you would pay the 26 tax rate on 25 assessments.
Okay.
So there's a weird.
So it's going to have to go up because 17 ain't falling off till 27, correct?
There will be a slight.
Okay. So that's what I'm getting at. There is going to have to be an increase because the first one's not falling off for 2 more years.
There's going to be a slight overlap. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you had to do it now.
Do you know what that 17 cent or the 2017 bond tax rate was?
No, because it changes every year based on assessed value too. So that 1310 is based on the 2025 assessed value
Right.
and the short repayment term. If assessed value grows for the school more next year, that number will lower as well. I can get you numbers based on the payment of the 2017 bond, what it is.
Yeah, it just seemed that I just was kind of confused if it's how it's a neutral if one's going on before one comes off.
I see what you're saying.
You know
But
what I'm saying?
you're looking not
Well, because
instant neutral,
we got
but
2 more years on a 17 bond, and if you only pay this one back over
Yeah.
5, for 2 years it's going to go up, and 3 years is going to go down a little bit. It's got to go up first because there's still 2 more years left on the 17 bond.
there'll be a year of overlap, but you're essentially staying neutral.
Yeah.
Really won't see that. Correct. Yeah, say that one more time. Your 2020, because you were assessed in 2024, which came in 2025. We paid a full bond payment on the 2010 series that just came home.
So that's
what you're seeing is that 2% increase.
a 2 cent. It's a 2 cent decrease.
2 cent has nothing to do with us.
Correct. That just has to do with net assessed value.
Yep, you got it. So
Yeah.
really, you won't see what came off the books for the 2010 series that we just paid. So that's where
Okay.
the net neutral.
So the 10 is you made the last payment on 10 last year. So that okay.
You all, as taxpayers this year, are still paying for that.
Correct.
So that's where next year we'll have the.
So 10 will be off, 17 will be the only one on, and then this one will come.
17 and 18.
This one on, and that's the neutral.
And then 17
Okay.
comes off.
Gotcha.
The next
That
year.
makes sense. Okay. Understand. Thank you.
David Brigman.
I'm David Brinkman. I live on Ball Diamond Hill Road. Jim's my neighbor. I'm a Lanesville alumnus as well. A couple things real quick about what they're talking about here. I'm retired from a utility company. We're 30 years with Duke Energy. A big thing you need to know about solar energy is he's correct in what he's saying. The Utility Regulatory Commission has to approve whatever rate increase any utility gets other than like an RMC because they're a membership-owned cooperative. That being said, generally all utilities will go in with a high number. They get usually about a half or a third of that taken off because that's just the operating way utilities go in. Everybody goes in, they want to try to get all the money they can as a business to offset all the costs they've got with environmental concerns, reliability, all the infrastructure. So quickly, in regards to the solar panels and all, they do buy back by the regulatory commission's requirements. If they produce more electric here than what they need, they're required by law, the utility companies are, to buy that energy back. It's metered. So they know exactly how much they're using at any given time and how much that they could sell off, so to speak, if they're not using it during their peak times. it is a win-win. And like, I keep up with a lot of utility stuff, especially during storms. A big thing we need to make sure of is when they install this, if they go down this road, we get a hailstorm of biblical proportion like we had 2 years ago that wiped out all the roofs in Lanesville. If it damages all them panels, is there our insurance here? Is it collectively been looked at to say they'll come in and replace almost $2 million in repairs to panels? That's things they got to look at as well. That's the operational side. We don't want them to have to continue to come out of the assets from the academic side for operational side. So hopefully that's something that they're talking to you about as well. I'm sure you're all proactive that way.
Yep.
But I just, as having a little bit of background, and I want to make them aware of. Also, Brian was given a point of contact about a month ago. Duke Energy has 2 specialists that will come in and do an energy audit on the entire complex. You may have already talked with them. For one guy or gal comes in and looks at everything, how it's designed, how much they use, and try to find overall improvements for the entire building. Another individual come in and say they lose these freezers back here due to lightning strike or something. If they replace those and go with energy efficient models, they give refunds on a lot of stuff, rebates or refunds. So hopefully you guys are looking at lighting, HVAC. There's so many facets, all the electrical devices you use, computers, everything here that's electrical. If you look in on getting energy efficient equipment, that takes off your operation costs.
And that is part of, and we've already done it with all the lighting. And so we couldn't save any more money there. But that is part of the company PSG. And one thing that is good for us because we're a small corporation, they are proposing to do a full facility study for us. And those things will be incorporated in that. And they are looking to do it for us free of charge.
And that was one thing I was going to bring up in light of the new proposed deal up there on the hill is if we're already taxed on our operational cost here, we're going to have to make sure there's operational cost monies up there for all the additions.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? If so, please state your name and address and sign the sign-in sheet after you're done speaking. Eric, I'll let you sign afterwards.
Eric Hess, Test Tech Road. Corton, actually, of Franklin Township. Easy question, I hope. The government's got a program out there called Rural Energy for America program. Has that been looked into at all to help with covering the cost of this solar?
No.
Does it not apply to schools to help? Because there was a time when that program would cover 50% of the cost of a solar project.
We have not, but I will.
Please do.
Will you email me the name of that?
Rural Energy for America program.
But I need those
I'll email it to you
because my mind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
REAP, Rural Energy for America program.
Okay, thanks.
Keith?
My name's Keith Baird. I just have a question. Is this the same project that was already approved that you paid $367,000 and the board approved it to lock in the price
For the panels?
for the panels?
Yes.
So why are we talking about it now if it's already been approved? And
Bond issuance.
okay, I'm just playing catch up. I didn't know
Yeah.
if we've
this
already
is for the issuance of the bonds.
went through all the steps to approve it and we're past that. I didn't know why
Yeah,
we were
now we
talking
just
about
have to
this
do
still.
the bonds.
Okay.
Thank you to all who participated in the hearing. We appreciate your time and interest in the projects and future of our community. Please note that the board will continue to work with administration and its professionals to look for efficiencies to conserve tax dollars while meeting our educational needs. Yeah, just come on up.
Come on, Donnie. Oh, you said one back there. Come on. Then you got three now, probably when you come up here.
I'm thinking of more as I come up, especially since you antagonized me. Donnie Hussong, Lanesville. 1.87 million total project includes bonding cost. So the actual cost you're going to need is what's the cost to bond a $1.5 million project? Bonding cost.
Yeah,
bond counsel and all that.
Yeah, we had built in 170,000.
Okay. And
Conservative estimate.
right now, bond rates are running about 5%.
Low fours.
Low fours. Would there also be an option to look at local financing from a financial institution since it's a tax exempt rate?
Yeah.
You'd save a lot of bond costs.
I'm not putting a plug in.
Wait a minute. I wonder, local banker guy. Yeah, there you go.
He's got savings.
All right.
All right. Dr. Apple, could you please summarize the project resolution?
Yeah, project resolution is required when school is planning to finance more than $1 million on a given facility or type of work. It contains the estimated hard and soft construction cost and the cost of issuance and establishes the total project cost. It also contains the estimated tax impact.
Could I have a motion and second to adopt the project resolution? Any discussion?
I'll make a motion to accept the project resolution.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Dr. Apple, could you please summarize the additional appropriation resolution?
The additional appropriation resolution provides the approval of the school corporation to appropriate the funds for the proposed project upon closing and receipt of the GO bonds.
Could I have a motion and second to adopt the additional appropriation resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Dr. Apple, could you please summarize the final bond resolution?
The next resolution to consider is the final bond resolution. The final bond resolution contains the project cost, maximum interest rate, and other financial terms such as the first interest payment date and maturity dates of the bonds.
Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the final bond resolution?
I'll make the motion to approve the final bond resolution.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Dr. Apple, could you please summarize the resolution adopting the amended and restated post-insurance compliance procedures?
The next resolution is to officially adopt our amended and restated post-issuance compliance procedures. This resolution amends the post-issuance compliance procedures which the board previously adopted in 2017 in order to account for updates to federal tax and securities laws. These procedures include specific policies for the review and approval of financing documents as well as continuing disclosure while bonds are outstanding.
Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution to adopt the amended and restated post-insurance compliance procedures?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And that, can I have an adjournment?
I'll make a motion we adjourn it.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.